before you came to this job, you were in a 6-figure salary, took a pay cut, quit your job to do door-to-door sales. The next year you make $189,000, then 230, and then 300 plus.
Like, wait, wow. I did that in 4 months. That was crazy to me.
Like, how the freak did they get 4 sales in like an hour and a half?
It's too hot? Great. I feel sad? Great. This would be the exact reason as to why I end with 6 to 8 sales today.
You guys were just crushing me. Yeah, you were number 3 rep in the company.
What advice would you give somebody that wants to make their first 6 figures? I found my anchor. Give myself what I deserve, which is excellence. The people I am going to lead in the future, that's what they need too, is excellence from me.
We the top 10, UGK the major, when I play it, it don't stop.
Brayden Conner, welcome to the podcast.
Let's go. I'm excited to be here.
All right, so let's get right into it, man. Tell us about the hardest part of your relationship right now with your wife. I'm just kidding.
Well, it's definitely the fact that she thinks whites and darks can be washed together. That's
an
an absurd
real problem.
claim.
That is a very real
That's
problem.
an absurd claim.
So
Our cleaning lady doesn't even do that. I'm just kidding.
The second shift cleaning lady at our home does not even do that. Just kidding. All right, dude, this is off to a very bad start.
You just have to like break it in.
Brayden and I have been very, very good friends for 4 years now. Almost more than 4 years, 4.5 years. Yep.
That's right.
Should we just start with like how we met? Actually, dude, let's start with like a really good preface for who you are and what you do, just so that people have an incentive to keep listening.
Huh?
And they know who they're talking to.
How Facebook message. Brayden recruited me.
Yeah, basically.
Now he's here.
When Brayden reached out to me, I thought he was recruiting me to go sell alarms. I'm fine. Okay, Brayden. So you just made 300 grand doing what? Door-to-door sales?
Door-to-door sales.
Why don't you get a real job, first of all? And second of all, what is your argument to people who say that door-to-door sales is not a real job?
Well, look, I think that having a real job, and like what that means is just something that you enjoy. Okay. I mean, do I enjoy the day in, day out going out and knocking on doors? No, but I love the result. So my job is really just being addicted to the result, which is like becoming better, making a lot of money, and then helping others do the exact same thing, becoming better versions of themselves, and then making like tons of money. And then serving others as well. That's actually the third component that's pretty important to me. And that's all like in my job, if you will. Yeah. In my job, I find that I'm really working for myself and for others. I know it's a bit unorthodox to go and knock on doors for your living and for, I guess, your progression in life. I know it's a bit unorthodox, but yeah, it's the result that I'm after. And like we all have a job to get a certain result. Mine's just different than yours. Yeah. And I mean, I don't blame people either for having that traditional mindset and thinking that knocking doors is weird or just different or like not like I guess that's really what they're saying with like get a real job is it's just it's not what normal people do. You know, it's very unorthodox. Unorthodox. I was going to say, I've been in neighborhoods just kind of like how you're saying it, like when you were in Virginia and I was in Atlanta, where people would come out and actually respect me because of like my pitch or how I held myself, my nonverbals, verbals, whatever you want, like whatever hard skill you want to talk about. Yeah. They really like respected it. And so people could respect the grind there. Like this guy's out hoving and like, he's like getting after it, even though he's on a Segway, like he's still making it happen. But also on the other side, I've had people come out and just absolutely try to insult me and tell me that what I'm doing is not like a good job, right? I feel like I would rather have someone knock on my door than a telemarketer call me. Like I'd much rather have some guy knock on my door. So I mean, in my opinion, I'd rather have someone come and knock on my door. So that's fair. I want to be that guy. It was funny when I was pulling out of your driveway the other day, and was it the water filter guy, or who showed up at your house that was knocking doors? It was a pest control guy. He was a pest guy? It was a pest guy. That's right. He wasn't wearing anything like branded or anything like that. Like, nothing. Man, only in Utah. H&M. Yeah, exactly. It was like a striped orange shirt. And it was awesome. Like he was himself, that's for sure. That's awesome. Dude, so you said you're after the results. That's why you do this. What, and you mentioned 2 categories, like becoming a better version of yourself and coaching people to do the same. And then the second is like money, financial, building a stable foundation financially for yourself. Can you talk to me about what those both mean to you? So what do you mean by becoming a better version of yourself, and you know what's addicting about what we do in relation to that? I feel like becoming the best version of myself has really just been increasing my production capability in all aspects of my life. My ability to serve others, my ability to be more understanding, my ability to listen, my ability to really just serve. I just feel like becoming the best version of myself is in all of those categories. Really, it's for the betterment of others that I improve myself.
Yeah.
I just feel like a role in my life is to impact a lot of people. And so I feel like if that's what stands in the way, it's actually my progression of myself in order to help those people.
Ooh.
So that's really what I am trying to do, is improve there. And then as far as the money piece, that's just a byproduct of becoming a better person. Like, people are naturally just drawn to people that are sharp and competent and like influential, and they have the persuasion skills. And
and when you're managing, people want to work with someone who has that capability. And so the money then becomes really a lagging indicator of how good are you at providing value in the vehicle that you're in. And if that vehicle is stable and has high profit or profit capability, then that's going to bring a lot of, reliable money long term. But if it's not, then you'll become a better version of yourself. You can go apply that to other things that you do and earn money, but maybe in the short term, it's not quite as lucrative or something.
I feel like with the first question, like in regards to becoming the best version of yourself, I feel like everybody just views themselves as they currently are, and they just imagine this like more refined version and this like better sculpted, whether it's physically, maybe it's like better balanced emotions. Anyways, people just look at themselves as they are now and just try to put a picture next to it and say, oh, this is what I would look like as the best version of myself. Yeah. But I truly think I don't have a clear cut vision and clear cut like photo or like painting of what I'll look like as the best version of myself. I only know of like the steps in front of me to take, and I know they're right and they're true. I'm hoping that that person I'm becoming is more on like my greatest example, right? So like I feel like sometimes people just think of this like picture of who they're supposed to be, but they really don't know who that is. They're just kind of guessing. For me, I just focus on the steps in front of me, and I know that they will, in the end, take me to where I need and where I want to be.
That's awesome. I have a question about, so, because what you said is really interesting, like becoming the best version of yourself. What I took from it is like, it's kind of empty if you're not actually doing it to better serve other people. Yeah. It's like this self-gratification of like, oh, I'm a better person. That's like, I mean, what does that even mean, first of all? And secondly, like, it really doesn't mean much unless it's applied to being something greater for someone else. Yeah. How have you found that to be a driving factor in like what we do in terms of managing and helping people, leading people to do the same version of our jobs that we've done before?
So look, my second summer, I led a team of, it was like 9 or 10 people, and didn't have the best year team leading because I wasn't who I needed to be for them. Like as far as a leader and for myself, I wasn't there. Like I just didn't make it. So like I just fell flat on my face. And I realized that the only way to get people to do better was for me to be better. And so what I started there was really diving into 7 habits of highly effective people. Really started diving into how I can improve to make sure people around me can produce. And then to want to stick around and be around me. And I want that to be like a part of this program too. So I really tried to change that. Then the year after is where like I had like a big year out in Atlanta with like our team, and like over 85-90% of them like came back on the following year. Same thing happened this last year. So I just realized that I accepted all of the outcomes, whether good or bad, were on my shoulders. I accepted the fact that it's okay to not be enough. It's just not okay to just accept that and not do anything about it.
Or know it and start pointing outward and saying it's somebody else's fault.
Exactly. So there could have been things I could have blamed. There could have been people. There could have been better situations. But the fact of the matter is, like, I'm the one who can make it better. So I learned that. And that's all through 7 Habits, through the program that we go through here. So
yeah, that's huge. I've seen you have this this hyper focus on not only 7 Habits, but like last year with principle centered leadership. And I mean, just really deep, like when I say changes, it's not like there was anything really major that was holding you back, but it just goes to show how much you've actually like really taken that stuff seriously and how impactful it truly is to change someone who is already highly as competent as you and refine you in a way that has just made you hyper successful in a way that few other people have been willing to. Because you went from making, like Well, first off, before you came to this job, you were in a 6-figure salary plus bonuses doing B2B sales at 22 years old, right?
Yeah.
And then you
Single.
took a single, yeah. And then going into getting married, took a pay cut, quit your job to do door-to-door sales with me, of all people. I'm like, I don't know why Brayden's choosing to work with me. Of all people, and then basically made $25K your first summer, right?
I think a little less, like 23.5, 24.
Like, so massive pay cut. I'm like, okay,
massive.
Anyone looking at that, stopping the story right there would be like, Brayden's an absolute like idiot.
He's dumb.
Yeah. But the next year you make 100 grand, right? Like literally almost right at 100K or more.
That following summer?
Yeah.
Oh, I made more than that. Yeah.
How much was it the next year?
It was like 189.
Oh, that's right. Okay. So then from there, 220, 230.
Yep.
And then from there, 300 plus.
Yeah.
Okay. So B2B job, 120K with bonuses. Quit, you make 25K knocking doors.
Yeah.
You're like, what on earth is Brayden doing?
Yeah.
And then you make the next year you make $189,000, then 230, and then 300 plus.
Something important to remember too, with that B2B sales job, that was over the course of like 15, 16 months.
Yeah.
So like in 12 months, the 12 months is probably only like 97, 98. But like
still
16
22
months,
years old, you're making 6 figures and like a pretty stable income.
But then to go my first summer, make whatever, 25, 24. And then, which was whatever, call it a half summer, call it full summer. And then coming back for my second summer. And then in four months, doing 189. So I think sometimes I even forget that myself. Like wait, wow, I did that in 4 months.
Yeah.
It wasn't 12. It was 4 months. And then the rest was, a different part of the job. But
yeah,
that was crazy to me.
So setting that as the backdrop, because that's obviously very impressive no matter how you cut it. Like, why did you do that? Why did you take the risk of such a big pay cut, knowing that you were going to have much less time to make an income? You were getting married. Like, what was the motive behind that? Because I've known you for a long time. You're one of the most intelligent people I know with money. And you always have been since I've known you. So, what's the motive behind taking $80,000 pay cut to knock doors when you had a stable job? It must be a compelling reason, right?
Yeah. The deep reason as to why, and like I'll touch on a little bit of it that I want to share, but at the end of the day, like it came down to gambling on myself, and gambling on not myself now, but like my future self, who I could be. Yeah. It was at that point in time in my life where, I just like had 15 months of like making pretty good money with my B2B sales job. And then, seeing your Facebook ad about coming here and
who is
like
this guy
working just for the summer, making good money, like being a better individual. Like I was in the point of, I was engaged and I was engaged to be married. Right. And, I know that it takes a certain person to be married, regardless if we're married. It takes a certain person, someone who's like committed, someone who's like loyal, someone who's honest, someone who's hardworking, somebody who's grateful, like all those things, which magically were all of the like core values here. Yeah. And I knew that those were the things I needed to prove on the most. And I wanted to make money, very important to me. I need it. I have to live. Like you don't live if you don't have it, right? Like
it's hard to contribute meaningfully to without it. At scale, at least.
Same thing with my marriage. It's hard to contribute it if I'm not being who I need to be. So I was seeking for a program, some type of job or culture that would cultivate becoming better in all of those ways that mattered to me. Yeah. And so short term, it financially was hard. But in the long term, it's paid off double, triple.
And I see, I've been saying this too, that like you guys are going to be multi-millionaires making $1 million a year much quicker than I did in your 20s, much faster than I did. Yeah. And you're already like well on your way, obviously. You just bought a gorgeous house that I'm very jealous of, and that Sarah and I talk about being jealous about every day almost.
Thank you.
and have a beautiful family and cool dog as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll never forget that, like, really meeting you, the way we connected through Facebook and you reached out. I thought you were recruiting me. You were so detailed about like what you were after and what you wanted. The reason I thought you were recruiting me is because it was so impressive how well you were articulating like what you actually wanted.
DoortoDoor sales guys are not that detailed.
I'm like,
this
guy? You were like,
he's a recruiter.
You quoted like the very like minute and like the timestamp of the video that you had just watched and how that resonated with you. And you're like, yeah, I just want to be the best version of myself. And I feel like in my current situation, I don't have as much potential to do that. And so I'd like to get into an environment where I can do that and where I have uncapped income potential at the same time.
Yeah.
Because both of those things are just so rare to find, you know?
Yeah.
And I mean, it was all downhill from there. That's basically.
Funny. I was just listening. It's funny. I was going back and I was telling you about this the other day about
yeah, we were going through
back, like reading messages, and then you had sent me a voice memo literally 20 minutes after you, Beck and I had met for dinner.
Yeah.
And 20 minutes after you had sent this voice memo, and I was like, dang, this guy is like for real. He's genuine. He's true. He's honest. Not only that, but I just feel like he's like his intent is pure. And he said something about coming here. If you, I think we'll do really cool things. I honestly think we'll do really big things. I'm like, okay, like little did I know, like fast forward 4.5, 5 years, I now understand like what you meant.
Oh, dude.
And so it's coming to full effect.
Yeah, it's and we're not even the tip of the iceberg yet, man.
Not yet.
Just the foundation has been laid, though. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Pretty
weird way to come into this.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, right?
And I believe I was your only person that came from that ad, right? Or came from that ad, or maybe one other one.
So, to be totally fair, we have probably done $10 million in revenue from the recruiting that came from those ads. It's been a lot.
That's awesome.
Auto is another one.
Oh yeah,
we've had several other people that came through those channels. Okay. But you're by far the biggest production line that's come through those channels, I would say. And definitely from that like Utah class. The other ones we did in local advertising in other places. Yeah.
That's cool.
So for anyone that's like really listening through, I mean, because a lot of people find these on TikTok and then sign up and want to meet with us, like this basically that you could be the next Brayden.
Yeah. Hopefully better.
Anyone could be the next me, because that's not very hard to do, I don't think.
No, I think everyone needs to be the better version of us.
You could be blindfolded and just start throwing darts and like do better. But you know, it just takes effort is all really. But it's just you're just like really one interview one step away from like something life-changing, frankly. I wanted to point out your story though, Braid, because I know you shy away from it sometimes because of how modest and humble you are, but publicly in this way. But I think that it's really good for people to just hear, like, when you play the long game like that and you're willing to invest in yourself early and then see that out for an extended period of time, that is where the biggest gains happen. And money is the smallest part of it, right? Although it's the one that people kind of gawk over the most.
Yeah, I think we're accustomed to saying yes and like having immediate gratification.
Yeah.
In that moment, right then, right now, right? I think we're all accustomed to, at least that's how our culture and how life is in the world is now. It's like, you want it, you want now. Money now, like this thing now. Everything's just like right now.
Yeah.
And I feel like for me to come here and like make the transition, it really taught me the power of patience and the power of like actually working really hard towards something that I can't currently see.
Yeah,
I can kind of understand it, and I kind of have like this foggy vision of it, but it taught me like patience, and then that's just helped me with my ability to increase my income and just to do better overall. But
yeah, and your influence and the people that you're blessing and serving, like that work with you, that you manage and you lead, it's all byproduct of that mentality, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a couple questions for you. So, you've effectively, on average, more than doubled your income over the last 4 summers, 4-month periods of time, essentially. what are the most impactful lessons that you've learned when it comes to not even just making 300 grand in 4 months, but that ability to double your income or rapidly increase your income year over year? What are some of the lessons that you've learned that have attributed to that?
Some of the lessons I've learned is, some of the lessons I've learned are, number one, just accepting what I'm currently capable of. This is what my power is to do. I can do this, or that. I can do A, B, and C. I'm not very good at, 1, 2, 3. And
not worrying about those things.
Not worrying about those things. Only focusing on what I can do really well at that current point in time, and doing that. And then with the things I'm not very good at, to slowly start to improve on those and take immediate action to get better at those.
Yeah.
So with everything that was painful, losing reps, not getting the sale, like maybe not cultivating a relationship that needed to be cultivated at that current point in time, instead of like in that moment being upset or finding reason to find blame, just taking immediate action, changing immediately, and figure out why it took place and how I can avoid it on the next. So one thing that I've done in order to like increase income over time is, little by little, step by step, paso a paso, just literally pick one thing and start to improve on it. Whether it's whatever it was, like communication, whatever it was. Yeah. Like my ability to help others, whatever it was.
Yeah. So I like that idea of like, go all in on the things that you already have as strengths that you're good at. And then the things that you're weak in, change them over time, but don't necessarily be worried about them like in the short term.
Yeah. Don't count yourself out just because you're not good at certain things. Don't just count yourself out and say, oh, it's not for me. Yeah. Oh, I really can't do that. And then like you start to just backfill with just excuses because of these weaknesses you have. And then what I think that happens is more weaknesses get added onto that list and you make yourself more weak. Yeah. Like you become more weak instead of making yourself stronger.
When you're not actually capitalizing on your strengths either. So can I point out an example of actually what you've done that was impressive in this way? So that summer you made 190K and you just said that you lost reps and it was kind of a struggle managing, and like that's a huge learning curve for most guys when they come from being a good salesman to a manager. Yeah. But instead of, so like, let's say that was a weakness, for example, instead of like getting down on that, which is actually what a lot of reps will do, or a lot of leaders, they'll get down on the fact that they had this thing that made like lowered their production, their team production. Yeah. What you did instead was you just went all out on your own personal sales and the guys that were there willing to put in the work to sell well. And so maybe that was fewer than what you thought in terms of sales reps that you were managing, but you didn't let your income or your growth be sacrificed, or like you didn't let that be subject to your weaknesses. Instead, you went my growth all in on your strengths. Yep. Yeah, exactly. And then over the off season, you just made these drastic improvements in your ability to manage people and like get them to sell well and perform. And had, if not, I don't even remember what the teams, how they all stacked up, but like one of the top, if not the top team in the company, certainly in Atlanta, and in that office, right? And it was the top office in the country. Yep. So you went from, a weakness, still capitalizing on your strength to sell really well personally, which meant that you didn't lower your income. Then the next year, improved those weaknesses while still going in on your strength of selling really well. So your personal sales production did not drop. In fact, it improved. It increased. And your team production now improved drastically. And then that just positioned you to have the top per rep average office in the country this year. Yep. Exactly. Which is, that's really insightful. I had not ever thought of it like that succinctly before.
I found that I could have easily just, I don't know, could have sat there and just been upset about what had taken place my second summer,
which would have kept you from selling well, by the way.
Yeah. My attempt to manage, and with me trying my best to sell with my first ever like full summer after being married. And anyways, I could have easily just let it, I could have just crumbled and done mediocre 200 accounts. But yeah, like I knew that like people, I just tied it to my future. Like everything I did in that moment was just tied to my future. I knew that like the team I lead the following year would depend, like they're going to depend on my production this year, and they're going to depend on my capability to help these people like come along and like finish the summer right. So
yeah.
And then lo and behold, like the following year, recruited a pretty good sized team, like had really good production, high production, had a couple top reps on the team with me. And it just helped set me up to have this year a really good like per rep average.
Yeah, it's massive. And I hope it's okay. I know it's uncomfortable to get like vulnerable about that stuff, but I feel like people will look at you and they're like, Brayden's untouchable because of how good you are like right now. And so it's always nice to just see that like we all came from a place where we had to improve on weaknesses, and that's actually what makes us as good as we are.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, that's huge.
And it's hard
there's some gold in this one already.
Yeah, it's hard to oftentimes bring up the stuff that you're not good at. But I feel like the more vulnerable I've been with my reps, and particularly like my experienced reps, the better they've sold. Just because at one point I was just like them, struggling to do whatever it was.
Yeah.
Not very good at whatever it is.
Yeah.
But showing them that this is like the steps you take through it. This is how I felt like in that moment. You're totally validating everything that you feel right now, but here's the steps in order to like crush it. Yeah. And because of who you are, speaking to this rep, you're going to do it.
Yeah.
Twice, like 10 times better than I will.
Yeah.
So you're going to have better production. So anyways, I'm not very good about being vulnerable, but
it really hits home for me because I have a funny story to tell in just a second. Doesn't make you vulnerable or anything. It just shows how good you are at sales and how bad I was knocking the same car group with you and Searle, dude. Freaking if you ever want to know how inadequate your sales abilities are, just knock in the same in the same car group as Brayden Conner and Brayden Searle. Like, dude, this is a different ball game, man.
Yeah, that PRA.
Jeez. Yeah, we would average like 30 accounts a day in our car group. Yeah. And we were only knocking for like 5 hours a day.
Yeah, we were not. Yeah.
That was so much fun, dude.
Working. Yeah.
I'll never forget that. So when I was 21 years old, I had big dreams of a few things. Becoming a millionaire by the time I was 30. That was a big goal of mine. I wanted to own my own business, and I wanted to create financial freedom through investing in real estate, startups, any other type of vehicle that would give me passive income so that I could really provide for my family and my parents in a significant way because of how much they sacrificed for me growing up. I didn't grow up in the most well-off household, and so I really wanted to create a life for my family that they could be comfortable. I'm a grandchild of immigrants, and I had a lot of people in my life that came before me that have sacrificed a ton to create the good things that I have. I wanted to create financial freedom so that I could give back and serve significantly. I thought I was going to do that by, first off, playing football in the NFL. I obsessed over football growing up, but then I quickly got cut from my college team upon arriving, basically. So then I thought I was going to do that by getting into a prominent business school and excelling there, and then, getting a high-paying job out of college. And I didn't get into any of the business schools that I applied for, and there were more than one. So I had some, learning disabilities and a couple other things that felt like held me back in that way. Bottom line, it just didn't work. So after all the failed attempts to make money and try to achieve my dreams early, I was basically desperate and just really didn't think that it would all work out. I was doing a bunch of these hourly jobs and barely making ends meet and donating plasma, all the things you do when you're a poor college kid. I had a friend approach me and say that he had made $50,000 doing a sales job during the summer in between semesters. And he was a really well-known and highly prominent athlete. I had grown up hearing about how good he was at football. And so we became friends after I got home from a mission for my church. I just trusted him. So I looked into it. I ended up doing this sales job thinking that it would just be a better way to hold me over while I really figured out how I was going to provide financially for my family and really make a big dent in my dreams. Fast forward a few years later, I was with the same company doing that job over and over again while I was going to school, making hundreds of thousands of dollars, and now coaching and teaching other people how to do the same thing. It completely changed my life in a way that I did not expect, learning how to persuade and influence people at a high level because you practice that day in and day out. That translated over into every other relationship and aspect of my life that I care more about than just sales. And then obviously financially being able to get well ahead of all of my peers and the other people who were not willing to make those sacrifices of doing that sales job during the summer in the off months of school. And then fast forward even more ahead, I was able to become a millionaire by 26 and have a multiple $1 million net worth by the time I was 30, upwards of $10 million plus, and invest in real estate early on in my 20s, be able to give back and help pay for mission trips and do service opportunities that I just otherwise wouldn't have had. But what I'm most proud of is being able to give my family, my parents, my wife, my immediate immediate family, the life that they just really never had growing up. Because I think deep down, we all want to be the type of people that when all is said and done, we actually have made a difference in other people's lives. And I feel like that's actually really the deep result of what this job ended up doing for me in a way that I just did not expect. Long story short, I'm obsessed with teaching the same things to other people. And since I have gotten to management and now I'm a partner in our company, I've been able to work with upwards of over 1,000 sales reps who are young, ambitious, college-age kids mostly, who start doing this job just to pay for school, but end up finding out that it's highly impactful for every other aspect of their life. So right now we are hiring and we have limited spots available to take on of people. So if you're interested, there's a link in the description of this video or in my bio. You can check that out, apply and see if you're a good fit or a candidate for this job. We have personality profiles that can match you with income and earning potential that is very much historically accurate of people that have gone in our program before. And if you take the leap of faith and at least learn about whether this could be a good fit for you, I think you're going to be not only really impressed, but if your results are even half as good as what everyone else has gone through this program has experienced, the only problem that you'll have is that one, you didn't know about this sooner, and two, that you didn't sign up and try to do it yesterday. All right, so give it a shot. Check out the link in my bio, and I'll see you guys in the rest of the episode. Let's say I want to make a 6-figure income in 4 months doing this crazy door-to-door sales job. What advice would you give me to do that well and to become the best version of myself? If I've never done that before, what advice would you give?
What advice would I give to someone who wants to make 6 figures in their first summer?
Or just in any summer, but they want to make their first 6 figures in that 4-month period with us, and while becoming the best versions of themselves at the same time. What advice would you give me?
I feel like this answer is given by a lot of entrepreneurs, salesmen, whatever. Don't overcomplicate what you have to do in order to achieve what you want.
Okay.
Like oftentimes we make everything so complex. We make everything have, 40 steps, right?
Yeah.
But I think ultimately, if I could talk to if I could have told younger Brayden or 4 year ago Brayden, 22-year-old, even 23-year-old coming into my first summer of Moxie, what I could have told myself, it would have been like, point out what your strengths are, point out what your weaknesses are within the first week of doing this job, and then focus on making those weaknesses strengths, but really focus on what your strengths are, and go after it. And then not just work hard because you should, but work hard because you have to in order to improve.
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes we work just to say that we worked.
Yeah.
To be honest with ourselves.
Without a result in mind.
Exactly. But work to achieve the result. Don't work to just achieve the ability to say that you worked. It's not the same. So I wish I could have told myself to focus on hone in on what my strengths are, figure out what my weaknesses are, and then work on those with whomever my leader was at the time, or you, or
I love that. Don't complicate it. It's really not that hard. Sorry, it's simple, not easy, right?
It's simple, not easy. Yeah, exactly.
It's not that complex, although it is difficult. It's challenging, but it's really not that difficult. I mean, sorry, I keep saying that. I'm contradicting myself. It's really not that. It's not that complex. It's if someone wants to make 6 figures, get out of the car every day at 1 p.m., 1 to 2, depending on when you're getting out to area, and be utterly determined to get 5 to 6 sales that day and figure out how to do that.
Exactly.
Oh, but I didn't do that on the first week. It's but are you still after that goal? And are you documenting the things that you need to work on to get there meticulously? And having feedback loops that really make it so that you get there. Really, it's not much more complicated than that.
One thing that actually really, a paradigm shift for me, or a really big change that took place year 2 to 4, it was my ability to view reasons why I didn't achieve what I wanted to achieve, grabbing all of those things and making them the reasons for which I actually went out and achieved what I wanted to achieve.
So turning the aspects of failure into motivation
and the very reasons why I did what I did. So for instance, here's one. 2019 banquet. I'm sitting at this round table.
Our awards banquet, right?
Yeah, our award banquet.
Yeah.
And there are guys and gals getting up to get their awards. And all of a sudden I realized that I'm at the table alone with a bunch of the spouses, like all the wives of the salesmen, and all the salesmen are up getting their awards on stage, and I'm the only guy at the table. And I can't tell you.
I love the story, by the way.
I can't express to you how little I felt in that moment. I just felt like such a loser, just like plain and simple. I just felt like a loser. I'm accustomed to winning. I'm accustomed to getting results. And here I am sitting there alone with all the spouses and everyone else is getting awards. And I'm sitting there clapping, like cheering everybody on. I'm like, wait, I'm sitting here with all of the spouses. Like it just like, it clicked. And then honestly, I was embarrassed, dude. Like I was embarrassed. Like my wife was sitting next to me. I'm like, how can she sit next to me and be proud of me? How can she sit next to me and be proud of me? And like, maybe this isn't for my perspective isn't for everybody, but how could she sit next to me and like be like proud of me? And I don't know if she could. So then I leaned over to her and I said, like, listen, I promise I will never sit next to you during one of these award ceremonies ever again. And she's like, what? I said, I will never sit next to you during these award ceremonies ever again. And what I meant was, I'm going to make sure I have a reason to get up on the stage every year hereafter. So I've done that.
And that has been true.
It's been true. At least 2 or 3 awards every year since.
Yep.
Whether it's certain club group or top 10, top 8.
Leadership.
Yep. Whatever it was, we made that happen. That was really like an anchor for me. So when you talk about,
it's big.
Like that was a really big shift for me, was really having a big anchor. So when you talk about going back to your question, like, what is it? What advice would you give somebody that wants to make their first 6 figures? I found my anchor, and my anchor was to honestly just give myself what I deserve, which is excellence. And that's what the people I'm going to lead in the future, that's what they need to, is excellence from me. So
yeah,
that excellence just translates to multiple 6 figures. And so that's what I've done.
I love it, dude. Yeah, that's, I always love that story because it's a powerful illustration of how you can use failure to not only motivate you, but be the very reason why you succeed, that's what you just said. It's a great illustrator of that.
Another snippet of that. So I just would take the reasons as to which why I failed and then turn them into reasons why I actually would succeed or to get results. So some of those reasons could be like, this area was just knocked, or like, these people have already heard the pitch. These people have already had door-to-door salesmen come to their home.
Yeah. Even we've already knocked this area before.
It's so hot outside. It's so cold outside. It's raining. I don't feel good. Like with whatever it is, all these reasons. Insert anything you want.
Yeah.
For which you didn't get like the result that you wanted, like sales or income, whatever. I then just turned it into like, it's raining. Perfect. Like
great.
Good.
Like, what does Jocko say? Good.
This will be the exact reason as to why I end with 6 to 8 sales today. It's too hot. Great. This will be the exact reason as to which I get 6 to 8 sales today. Like it's like, I feel sad and my emotions are a bit unstable today. Great. They'll be the exact reasons why I get 6 to 8 sales today. And I've said that exact line to myself, like every day. Like every day I get on the doors. Trust me, it's not all sunshine and rainbows like when you're getting out on the doors, but you have to have some way to ground yourself and anchor yourself in order to go out and get the result, because things depend on it.
Yeah. And there's so many reasons why, like, if you let your mind go to the negative, in a job that requires, what am I saying? In a job that has high income potential, there are more reasons to be negative about your experience and about the excuses than in a normal job. Just because the earnings potential is so high, it equates to how difficult and challenging it is. So if you let your mind go negative, there are plenty of reasons to get negative, right?
Yeah.
But you can flip all of those into, like, one of the things I say for myself is like, oh, this is going to be a cool story when I succeed in whatever environment, right?
Yep.
I actually have a story about this, and it has to do with you. I don't know if I've told you this part of the story yet, but you know how I tell that joke about like knocking an area behind you?
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna tell the PC version of this story. So when in 2020, me, Brayden Conner, and Brayden Searle were in a car group together for like what, a month?
Yeah, if that.
Maybe 20 days or something.
Yeah.
And so like we're talking about like top rep in the company. You were freaking hungry to go succeed and win. And you were already selling super well. You had multiple 10 days already, 10 sales in a day.
I was number 3 that year. Yeah.
Yeah. You were number 3 rep in the company while leading a team.
Yeah.
And I serviced 500 accounts in just about 2 months of selling time. But the way it started was like, I get in the car group with you guys, and every day you guys were just crushing me, both of you. And I just like, I would get out of the car. So basically I'd drop you guys off. I'd do like a little bit of admin work for my VP job, and then I would get out. And every time I'd get out, both of you guys would have at least 4 sales. Like, how the freak did they get 4 sales in like an hour and a half every time? Yeah. And it was really early in the sales season too. So it's like still kind of cold. Like it was rainy a little bit. Anyway, I was very frustrated. Windy. So it's like, I got to freaking level up like right now. Like there's no way I'm staying in the car group with these guys and they're just beating me every single day. Like this is ridiculous. That still kept happening. But anyway, so there was this one area that you knocked. And when we divided up teams, when all of our teams came out, my team was selling in the areas where we had started because for whatever reason. And so I didn't realize this, but when I was randomly assigning area to the team, they picked an area for me that you had happened to knock. And so I like halfway through the day, and I was feeling pretty good by that point. Like I was keeping up with both of you guys at least a little bit. And I was used to like having 8 to 10 sales a day and a half day of selling. And then this one day I've had like 2 sales and it's like 7 p.m. And I'm like, dude, what is wrong with me today? I just am sucking so bad. And so I'm starting to analyze in my mind. I'm like, I got to make some tweaks. Like I can't just keep going. I'm going to make some tweaks. So I took a breather for about 30 seconds and I was like, let me evaluate the day. What's going on? And it dawned on me that I have not talked to one English speaker all day. I'm like, how the blazes, dude? It's like, no wonder I'm not speaking English. But it's not like Spanish. It's like Hindi or like people from Nepal. Yeah. So I find out that this Brayden had knocked this area, and there's sales everywhere in this area. And not just like from previous years, but like from this summer. Like you had an 8-day and a 10-day there. Yeah. And so, and everybody I talked to, like they had never talked to a salesman before. I'm like, this is so strange. There's tons of new sales here. Brayden got all of them, and they're not new move-ins. So, because it's the neighborhood that's been there for a second, and I'm not talking English to anyone. What the F is going on? So I text Brayden, I'm like, dude, did you remember this area? He's like, oh yeah, I remember that area. And I'm like, how did you sell here? I'm like genuinely curious because I like want to know, like what hot buttons were you picking on? I was desperate at this point. I would not ever coach reps to do this, by the way. And Brayden's like, oh, that's right. I just skipped all the houses where like I didn't think that they would speak English. You would come up with some algorithm in your mind that like if the doors in the house looked a certain way, then you would just skip it because you knew after like 5 doors that those people didn't speak English.
If I saw that their placemats or their welcome signs were a different language,
gosh, dang it, dude,
I was gone.
Anyway, I ended up pulling out 4 more that night. But so fast forward, you know that part of the story. Fast forward, like 3 months later. So I'd already finished like my full-time selling, but I went back on a Saturday because my team was kind of like they were in a little bit of a rut. And so I was like, I gotta go just show these guys like what's up, right? So it's a Saturday and I had gotten assigned an area right next to that area. And so I was like, dude, I got my trash kicked in this area. So I switched somebody. I was like, can I switch you? Cause like, I want to prove to myself that I can sell in that area really well. And they were like, yeah, sure, whatever. I think it was Isaac or something. So he switches me, and gladly, because I just told him that I like sucked the last time I was there, right? And it was hot as freaking Hades that day. It was like 110 degrees, Dallas weather. So I step out of the car and I'm just soaking wet, dude. And I had already decided to switch areas, so I couldn't go back on that. So I was like, all right, today's just going to be a really cool story when I sell at least 10 today. And I got 12 sales that day in that area. And all of them were people that I'd talked to. And I just was like, I'm going to figure this out. But all I remember about that day was like, I don't care what happens. This is going to be a really cool story. And I'm soaking wet from the sweat in like 5 minutes of getting out of the car because it was so hot. Anyway, that was a long-winded story, but that was like the second half of that story that I don't know if I've told anyone.
Yeah, it's cool because, I mean, what you say to yourself, like, this will be a really cool story.
This is a cool story.
Yeah, this will make for a really cool story. I think that's focusing. Well, it's like, sure, staying neutral, but also staying positive and focusing on like the result that you want all at the same time. I think oftentimes people just, they get sucked down into the negative and then they're not strong enough to pull themselves out of that. It takes a very strong person to pull themselves out of like their own negativity. And a very self-aware person. So it's cool that you don't even allow yourself to get to that point. You just say this will make for a really cool story.
Well, because not acknowledging the failure or whatever, you and I would consider failure, it's also not productive either. Mm-hmm. But you don't need to go all the way negative. You just be neutral about it, because that's what you're referring to, like being neutral, right? Mm-hmm. It's like we talk about this a lot, neutral statements. Like, well, what's a neutral statement about a really hot day? Mm-hmm. It's like, it is 110 degrees outside. Mm-hmm. Or even better, it's like the thermometer reads 110 degrees outside. Yeah, exactly. That's a neutral statement. It's neither good nor bad. But then the cool part of it is when you can flip it and say, like, today's going to be a really cool story when I kill it, you know?
Today will make for really cool
It's almost like, dude, I don't know if you feel this way, but like when weather's perfect, like actually perfect, I almost have a harder time like getting myself excited about having a good sales day, because there's no real obstacle to overcome. Or at least that's how I used to be.
It's like knocking doors became so easy. You just need something else to
like,
throw a wrench in things. Like,
give me something hard.
It's not normal unless something's going wrong.
Yeah.
It's not normal unless it's harder that day for some other reason, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
it's like I want 10 companies knocking in my area. Yeah. Pouring hail.
I want a gate out front.
Yeah, exactly.
A security guard would help too.
Yeah. Let me see what other questions I got, because now I'm kind of rambling. Okay, so here's a question for you. Is confidence learned, or is it a trait that you're just born with, or not? Can you learn how to be confident?
Yeah, I think you can learn how to be confident. I think that sometimes people's confidence, they draw on it from the compliments and comments of others.
Okay.
And that people hang around a certain group of people because they build them up, but in their brain, like they don't believe them. So that's why they stay around them. Mm-hmm. And they stay around that group, and they don't like take time on their own in order to build up their own confidence.
Yeah.
So I know that was a bit of a tangent there, but I do believe that you can like develop confidence and build confidence. I honestly believe that it starts with, I mean, we talk about all the time here, but keeping commitments with yourself.
Sure.
Like very, very small daily commitments, hourly, or whatever the commitment is, but then to just start believing in yourself that something will take place. Because if you believe what you say, that builds up a lot of confidence. And if you believe that other people believe what you say, that builds even more confidence. And not only that, but if you do what you say you're going to do,
yeah,
and if people know that you're going to do what you say that you're going to do, I think it builds utter confidence. I don't see how someone can't develop confidence.
Yeah, I love that, dude.
In that way.
Okay, so, let's say someone is like young, ambitious, kind of stuck in a job they hate, or maybe going to school and they hate it, and they want to make their first $10,000 in a month. If you have a new rookie, or let's say I'm a new rookie, no sales experience, I'm coming out to work during the summer between semesters or something. What advice would you give me to have my first 10K month? It's funny because a lot of guys have $10,000 days, but like 10K month, what's your advice to me?
My advice is, just so you know, life really begins at $10,000 a month.
Okay, that's fair.
So in my personal opinion, life really begins at $10,000 a month.
You're free. What do you mean by that? Like freedom, choices, things that you can now do because of it?
Like my ability to have freedom. What I mean by that is like $10,000 a month, really, depending on what your bills are. I mean, if I'm in my 20s, like in the question, as it's prefaced, I think $10,000 a month, that's just where life starts. Bills are paid, investments are made.
Yeah.
Like, toys are bought, like however you want to do it, right? But I just think life begins with $10,000 a month, and my advice would be start with that number. If it's $10,000 a month, or maybe it's whatever, it's $10,000 a month, and figure out what you need to do in order to have it. Like, I need to sell this X amount. My team needs to do this X amount at this value.
So do the basic math.
Do the basic math.
You gotta see how the metrics line up.
See the metrics line up. Then figure out what your baseline is. Your baseline is, I can at least do this. Figure out what your baseline is, and then figure out like how far that gap is between you and that $10,000 a month.
Yep.
And go fill that in with things that you have to improve on immediately in order to achieve that $10,000 a month. And then up all the variables that allow you the best opportunity to achieve that $10,000 a month, whether it's time, whether it's competence, whether it's, I guess getting more into that, like training, like anything between the ears, and then training anything outside of the ears, like physical, body, whatever.
Sure.
And start tweaking those variables, increase your ability to produce, and then achieve what it is that you want, which is that $10,000 a month.
It's really determining the levers. What you're saying is like, you've got to find what the equation is. And there's tons of equations that you can build that equal 10,000 a month, right? So I hear you saying first, like understand that is important and why. Secondly, determine what the variables are. So like for us, right, we knock doors, and you don't just do that willy nilly and then get frustrated and say like, oh,
know your numbers.
I don't know why I'm not making 10K. It's like, well, how many doors did you knock today? I had a rep approach me. I don't remember if it was this summer or last summer, but he was like, I'm just really frustrated and confused. I don't know why I'm not selling. And my first question with that, after I empathize and understand, oh, tell me what you mean. Like, how are you feeling? Okay, so I feel you feel like you're frustrated because blah, blah. And I'll really try to empathically listen to them. But then next, like once they'll let me, my next question is always, well, how many doors did you knock today? And dude, the guys that are frustrated, they never have an answer to that question.
I don't know. 100 something.
I don't know. Well, did you track it though? No. Okay. Well, of course you're confused because you don't even know what the equation is. You don't know what metrics you are actually putting into that equation right now. So my brother came to me and asked this question, and he was like, you know, I'm in a rut. I'm not selling very well. I'm like, well, how many doors did you knock yesterday? And he's like, well, I'm not really sure. So I had him track it, and he was only talking to like 20 people a day for whatever reason, getting permits, you know, tons of different things. And I was like, listen, it's no wonder you're not selling. You're not talking to enough people. I need you to talk to triple the people tomorrow. So 60 at least. And eventually we're going to get you up to 100, but I need it to be manageable for you first. So get to 60. The next day he sold 4, talking to 60 people. I was like, all right, now talk to 80 tomorrow. And he didn't quite talk to 80, but he sold 5 sales. I'm like, now we're going to go for 100. I need you to talk to 100 people tomorrow. That's all we care about. Because then we can determine like what your formula actually is. How many people are you getting to price? How many people are you getting past 3 objections, etc. And that helps us know what levers to pull. Because that's kind of really what I hear you saying in that is like, if you don't know what levers to pull, then like it's going to be impossible to up things you need to up to hit your goals.
Even at my previous job, I would have never known. At my previous job, I would have never known to look at my like the variables or look at what levers to pull to increase my income. I would just think to work more hours. I would just.
That is one that you said too, right? That's important.
It is. Or I would just think to like, increase my hours. That's it. Or to get a side gig. To like another part-time job.
It's like, well, I can't actually make more right now.
Or have my wife work.
Reason. Sure.
Like that's how I increase my household income would be to have my spouse work. And so like, I with being here, I've just learned that like it literally is an equation. And I know we talked about this earlier in this, but not to overcomplicate things. It's not super complex. I know that sometimes people will roll their eyes at something like this when they hear this question or when they hear the answer to this question that, oh my gosh, they're just saying that I need to work harder, or they're saying this. No, that's not what we're saying. Like you're missing the point if that's what you heard.
Work harder means in many cases, so it might mean more hours. Like let's say you're talking to every possible person you can, but you're still not selling. Well, you are going to need to work more hours while we work on upping your skill set.
Exactly. Right? So if like you're talking to a lot of people, great. That means like the first little bit of what you're saying may be really good. But there's a disconnect between that point, at the end of that point, to the point where you leave the doorstep, where there's a disconnect. So now you need to dissect what it is that you're doing, saying, or what is it that you're feeling or making that person feel in order for you not to get the result that you want, which is a sale or making money, right? So anyways, don't overcomplicate these things. I mean, if you overcomplicate it, then
don't overcomplicate it. Pull the levers, and they're actually not that complex. Simple, not easy.
Pull the lever, Drunk. Pull the lever,
dude. Well, for sake of time, since we got to go to what do they call that in Spanish? Noche de hogar.
Noche de hogar. El noche de hogar. Con los marshmallows.
Elder. People do it every time. They'd be like, elder. Because my name is so complicated in Spanish.
Corner. Esquina.
See ya. Oh gosh.